So for more, I'm joined by Jonathan Conricus, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defence of Democracies and the former spokesperson for the Israel Defence Forces. Thank you for joining me, Jonathan. First of all, I'd like to address that question of a ceasefire, hopes of a ceasefire, both sides saying they might be inching closer, but of course the Israeli cabinet is split on the merits of the deal. Do you think Benjamin Netanyahu can get this over the line, and does he want to?
To me, there's no doubt that, well, first of all, good morning and thank you for having me. Of course, we all want our Israeli brothers and sisters home, and it's a matter of defeating Hamas and achieving our military goals and our diplomatic goals, and of course, getting the hostages home. And for these last 14 months, what Hamas has been doing is basically using the hostages in order to stay alive and to prevent Hamas from falling and to prevent Hamas from being eradicated from the Gaza Strip. That is really what it is about. I hope that now enough military and diplomatic pressure has been applied on Hamas and on their political backers, on Egypt, on Turkey, and on Qatar, in order to send that message that enough is enough, enough suffering, enough unjust suffering of Israeli civilians, and frankly, enough suffering for Gazans. Hamas is the organization that is perpetuating the suffering here, and Hamas has the power to end it. The moment that Hamas will surrender, Israelis will go home, and the situation for Palestinians will start to improve. It is within their power to do so, and hopefully we will see change in the coming future.
Without a doubt, it does seem there's political pressure on both sides. We have heard political pressure directed towards Israel from the likes of the United Nations, various governments around the world. I guess I'd like to hear from you whether or not you think a ceasefire, a deal could be brokered, or you are just pushing in that sense that Hamas would step down.
No, definitely. I mean, any end to war and military conflict is usually achieved by some kind of political or diplomatic agreement. And I don't think that the war in Gaza is going to end any differently. It all depends on the terms. What kind of terms will be accepted on the ground, and what kind of reality will Israelis have, and what kind of security assurances will Israel have that this monstrosity, this organization, Hamas, that came across our borders and butchered Israeli civilians and took our people hostage, it will never happen again. That is the Israeli focus, and that is what the state of Israel launched the offensive in order to achieve. Once that is within reach, then of course, I believe that there will be a ceasefire agreement, and I think that it will have good chances of holding as well.
Now, in the meantime, as negotiations continue with politicians, winter is approaching. There are fears of famine in Gaza. Is Israel doing enough to get aid to the people there?
I frankly think that Israel is doing above and beyond what is needed and what is required of a combatant in order to supply humanitarian aid. There are 4 open crossings from Israel into the Gaza Strip, where hundreds of truckloads are providing humanitarian goods every day. The serious issue in Gaza is that Hamas uses the humanitarian aid as a leverage of control over the population. But Israel is working together with various international organizations, some of them UN, some of them not UN, and simply flooding the Gaza Strip with food, with blankets, with fuel, with all of the basic necessities. Granted, the situation in Gaza is not a good one, and there is suffering, and I'm sure we're seeing now difficult images from Gaza, but the bottom line is that the responsibility lies on Hamas.
Sorry, Mr. Conricus, you say that that you are flooding with aid, but we have reports, the Norwegian Refugee Council warning, for example, that only 23% of the Strip's shelter needs have been met this autumn, saying that there's nearly 1 million vulnerable to exposure. I want to turn to Syria. Israel has been bombarding targets in Syria. Now, you've said this is about preemptive terror from Syria by striking its weapons arsenal. Benjamin Netanyahu, meanwhile, saying that he has no interest in confrontation. Why, therefore, are we seeing this striking occur?
Well, those strikes, they occurred a few days ago, and I think that Israel remains vigilant, both militarily and diplomatically, in order to, A, send a very clear message to the new landlords of Syria that they shouldn't be aspiring to attack Israel from the east, and B, that Israel is prepared to defend itself. And that, I think, is what Israel has done. You know, Israel usually gets criticized in real time for many things that it does. It got criticized in 1981 for taking out the Iraqi nuclear reactor, and then in 2007 for striking the Syrian nuclear reactor in Deir ez-Zor. At the time, these were not popular acts. In hindsight, all Western countries thanked Israel for taking nuclear weapons away from crazy Muslim dictators. I believe this situation is the same, and I believe that what Israel has done is to take a very positive, preemptive, and responsible act in the Middle East, making sure that we don't find ourselves in a Libyan situation again, where a country's arsenal is being looted by all the terrorists of the world, and then finds itself, we find these weapons across the world targeting civilians and in the hands of various jihadi organizations. That is probably not going to happen, and I think that's a very good thing. Israel has no aspirations in Syria. It's been stated clearly.
Jonathan Conricus, thank you for joining me on BBC News. Good to get your insights.